all right. All right, this should be Theories of Human Communication. So it's a 201, is that right? Two something like that? Yeah, 201. So we're going to assume that you don't have a lot of background in communication studies or in theories. So we're going to take it from the get-go. So if some of you are really advanced already, you'll be good shape. You'll be able to help us move along. Let me get the new fellow came in. I didn't get your name yet.
Brian.
Brian.
Jordan.
Jordan. Okay. Brian Jordan. Hi. Hi. What's your name? Jason Haber. All right. I'm getting the feeling that you all are in classes together. I'm hearing these stories about things. All right. These are in pairs, so hand them back together. Hand it back together. And you want to help me? Oops. Sorry? Where did I break it up?
This is what's on Blackboard.
Yeah, this is the same thing that was on Blackboard.
One more step.
What's that?
I need to physically.
Yeah, right.
I need to
Okay, let's get this handed out. Okay, 1, 2. All right, they're in twos.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Okay, twos. 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 Thank you. Twos.
I have one.
You good? Okay. Good. All right, who all needs one yet? Got some extras? All right, let me, have my grammar error in there already. All right, let me check. How many of you got the email that I sent out? Okay, I sent out an email to test the Blackboard system. So you should have gotten an email. If you didn't get an email, you need to go check your Blackboard thing, because I'm going to use Blackboard a fair amount. So we've got up there, this syllabus is already up there as a PDF and as a Word doc. And you're probably going to want to use the Word doc for some things.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it says SP 231, Media and Society.
No, this is comm theory.
So do you know by any chance where it would be?
No, but Janet in the comm office will know. Right. Okay. Right. So you'll need that Word doc because you have a project that is going to require you to send out a letter to some kind of a company or organization or something. So make sure you can access that. And I'm probably going to make these MP4 files available through Blackboard too. I think there's a way to do that, and or I'll put them up on another website and you'll be able to get them. Or we'll put them on Google Video. I'll put them on YouTube and pick them up there. So, all right, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Bakelar. People sometimes say Dr. B. That's fine. My email is there. I prefer the Comcast email. So if you can send me stuff on Comcast, that works better for me, the way my computers work. I gave you my cell phone there. I don't mind text messages. I like text messages. I get text messages from students in the library all the time saying, I can't find this, and then I text them back. And so it works real quick sometimes. So we'll try text and see how that goes for you. But I'm not around a whole lot here. I am here on Tuesdays from 2:30 till 8 o'clock. And that's when I teach. Otherwise, I'm not generally on campus. So if you want some office hours, if you need to meet with me, the best thing to do is to just tell me and I'll come early. So if you can come earlier, that would be better. I've been teaching here in various capacities since 1992, and watched the university go through a lot of changes over that time. So, but I'm looking forward to this. I took a comm theory course that was horrible when I took it, and so I'm trying to do a better job than I got. So I think you'll feel that way, that this works out much better for you than it did for me. I did my doctoral work at Temple University over in Philadelphia. I heard some people talking about doctorates, and those of you who are thinking of going on someday, Temple University is favorable to the working student. So a lot of universities require that you be a full-time doctoral student, but Temple lets you do part-time doctoral work. So if you're working full-time or raising family or whatever, Temple works with you. So it took me 7 years to do it, you know, of part-time work, but you can do it. What's that?
And my dad's doing it too part-time.
Yeah.
It's taking forever, but
Takes forever, yeah, but you can do it. And so I encourage you to go on. Those of you who want to go on, by all means do it, and Temple's a good place to go. Hi, Ashley. Right, so that's who I am. I have 3 kids. You know, I'm married. I have 3 kids. My kids are all grown up and out. My daughter went to USC in Los Angeles, and she's married and works in Utah now in an independent bookstore. So if you ever go to Salt Lake City, stop in at the King's English bookstore and say hello. I have a son at Arizona State who works for Arizona State. He's doing landscaping work for them while he takes landscaping courses. So it's a very good thing to put yourself through school and not ask your parents to pay the bills, you know. So that's working out good out in Phoenix there. And then my oldest boy is at Rutgers doing a master's program in MLIS, Library Information Science, and he also works for Rutgers doing their computer network stuff for the School for Social Work. So, so he's working his way through school too. So I'm pretty familiar with university and students, and that should work well for you. All right. All right, so let's take a look at the syllabus that you got here. I'm just going to work through it to make sure we've covered it. I'll comment as we go through. Theories of Human Communication, key course for the Communication Studies student. Now, I thought I saw some other majors in here besides Comm Studies, right? I saw a biology major. Is someone a biology major here? No? Okay, is everybody Comm Studies? Okay, how many of you are PR Comm Studies? All right. And then Org Comm, and then Speech Communication. All right. So that'll help me to figure out what we're doing here. My strength is in organizational communication. That's my particular strong area. And it's interesting to me, sometimes PR people are really interested in Org Comm, they just don't know it. So, you know, sometimes they get into PR thinking you're going to be in human resources, you're going to be doing training and newsletters and things like that. But that's really kind of an Org Comm function. So we'll try to test out where you're at in your PR and figure out what you're really interested in doing. So Theories of Human Communication, a key course, provides an overview of how communication is conceptualized and develops the ability to use perspectives in analysis and application. So one of the ways to think about this course is as developing a toolbox. All right. So part of what we're going to be talking about for you is giving you a set of tools to use in your communication life. The more tools you have and the more understanding you have, the more power you have. And power can be used bad, but power is just part of life. And you need to have the ability to effectively and powerfully use communication in whatever you do. So our goal here is to equip you with tools that make you an insightful and powerful user of communication. And so, hi.
231?
Yes, this is communication theory. All right, good. All right. So the idea here is to gather a toolbox. How many of you do anything that has to do with toolboxes? Anybody do anything with toolboxes? That's a bad analogy then, isn't it? It's a bad metaphor. Let's see, what would be, you do sunset? What's that?
Talking about screwdrivers?
Yeah, hammers, screwdrivers.
Sure.
Yeah, some people know what those are. They used to be used. But if you were a radio technician, right, or a computer technician, you'd have soldering irons and you'd have testing devices and all these things. And you can't do the work unless you've got the tools. You'll find this out, that you have the right tools makes the work a whole lot easier to do. So we're going to try to equip you with a number of tools. There's something called the law of the hammer that is something we'll try to move you away from. The law of the hammer is the idea that if you only have one tool, you think it's good for everything. So if you give a child a hammer, for instance, all of a sudden everything becomes a nail, right? And so they just bang on everything. They think this is what you do with it. So we don't want you to leave this course as a one theory person who says, okay, I understand how communication works. Communication works like this. You know, and everywhere you go in your PR work, in your home, in your family, and your friends, you do that same thing in every place. Because we want you to have a number of communication theories who say, okay, what I'm dealing with here is a media issue, and so I'm going to go in my toolbox and look at my media theories, or I'm dealing with an interpersonal issue, so I'm going to go to my toolbox and get out some interpersonal theories. So you're going to be equipped with a number of things. Some of them are going to be of less interest to you than others. All right? So I know that, and you know that right now. You're going to look at some theories, and you're going to say, this is irrelevant to me. I don't need to know this. The point there will be that it teaches you something about how to think. And so part of what we're learning is to look at communication from different perspectives, from a psychological perspective, from a sociological perspective, from a cultural perspective, from a symbols and media perspective. We're gonna stand in a whole bunch of different places, look at the same things, and try to figure out what's going on here from these different standpoints. So we're going to try to avoid the law of the hammer. We want you to have different tools that you apply to different situations. So we say here that it develops the ability to use perspectives in analysis and application. All right, so everyone has theories of communication already. We're going to test out your theories of communication later today and look at different situations, and we're going to ask what's going on here. And we'll develop your implicit theories of communication. They're the ways you explain what's going on when people communication. There's a grammar mistake, right? When people are in communication. When you explain to someone else what's happening in a conversation. So if you've ever been, you've done this. You've gone to a friend, you're talking with somebody, they leave, and you turn to your friend and you say, what was that all about? Right? You're like, what just happened? And what you're asking for is a theory. You're asking for your friend to explain to you what just went on. Because you know something happened, but you're not quite sure how it happened or why it happened. And so you want them to explain it to you. You want them to describe, well, you know what was going on was this. They were really being jealous about this, or they like this. And so that's a theory that explains what happened. So we're going to look at the way you do theory already. So theory is not some strange thing. You're already theoreticians. You do it all the time. You want to ask people what's going on. So the student will be able to identify key perspectives and traditions in the study of communication. Your book, I think he has 33 theories in there. And we are not going to do all of them. You know, I've worked with Dr. Lamiziano to figure out which theories do I need to do in this class, because you're going to get some of the other theories in other classes. I've taught this course a number of times, and we've tried to go all through Griffin before, and it's just overload. You know, it's like 3 theories a class period. You know, we're going to do 2 or 1 is the way we're going to do it, and delve into them a little bit more. So that should work well. So you want to identify key perspectives and traditions in the study of communication. Speak in depth about a particular theory or theorist. So as we get through this, you're going to need to pick something that you are going to become a sort of specialist in. Right? So there's going to be one theory or one theorist that you're going to say, you know, I think this is the one I'm going to dig down into. You know, because we're kind of doing this Nevada search and rescue thing going on out there, right? We're kind of flying over this thing and pointing it out. But somewhere along the line, you've got to get on the ground and dig around. So you're going to need to pick one that you're going to do that with. And you're going to write a short paper about it. I don't need to read long papers. I've read too many long papers. It's to be a short paper, but tight. I want it tight. I want good stuff in it. All right? So we'll talk about that more. You're going to apply the knowledge of theory to communication problems of interest. So a lot of what we're going to do, hopefully, will be interactive here. I don't need to hear myself talk. I'm old, and I've heard myself talk a lot. You know, I don't need to hear myself talk. So I need to hear from you. And if you don't talk, I'll talk. So let's make a deal that you bring some interesting questions, and then we'll talk about them. So we'll talk about problems of interest to you. So you want to be watching the news. You want to be watching your own life. You want to be thinking about, what would I like to understand about communication? What's a communication situation, problem? What's confusing to me in communication? And we'll talk about that. I've got two just from the recent news that I'm going to use for us if we don't come up with anything else. The iPhone public relations problem. Any of you following the iPhone public relations issue? Well, Steve Jobs, you know, holds his conference. He announces a price cut of $200 on the iPhone 2 months after it comes out. That makes some people very unhappy, you know, because they paid that $200 more. They paid $599 for their thing. Now, well, okay. Well, but see, this is a good point. How does Apple respond? Steve Jobs tried that. He said, hey, that's technology. That's the way it works. But the buzz started to go out through the internet and through the blogs and all, and he said, I better do something about this. And so he's given $100 credit, and some people are happy, some are not happy. So, but that's a public relations issue. That's a communication issue. You've got media issues. You've got human relation issues. You've got all kinds of things going on there. So we'll talk about theories that will help to make sense of that and begin to give you some tools to work with that. The other interesting communication event that showed up in the news was Britney Spears. Right?
Every class you're talking about.
Oh, are you? All right. I won't talk about it then. All right. I'll cut it out. But I mean, it's a disaster, right? I mean, for her, and what's going on, and what's the media buzz, and how does that work, and why, you know, how does this work? So we could talk. I won't talk about that. We'll do the iPhone in here then. Okay.
I want to do Britney again.
What? What's that?
Britney Spears is so entertaining. That's why she's on the news.
Whether it's good or bad, it's entertaining, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any case. All right. So we'll apply the knowledge to problems of interest, communication problems of interest. So this might be in your workplace. How many of you work somewhere? How many of you work in food? How many of you work in food service? Yeah. Right. Okay. So you got issues of wait staff, and you got the people back in the kitchen, and you got managers. Yeah, so we had a lot of things to talk about how communication goes and problems that develop. And the last thing here is you'll be able to identify key articles and research relating to your own research interests. So you're going to get 2 articles. I'm not going to have a lot of articles for you. I don't know how many you have to look for in other classes. I want you to do 2 good ones in this class. 2 research articles that apply some theory to some issue that you're interested in. So in other classes, I've done 6 or 8 articles. And again, what I find is that students just don't absorb it. They just clip through the article. So I'm only going to ask you for 2, but you're going to dig into them. And I'm going to ask you to be able to explain what's going on in these research articles. So we'll talk about how to find. How many of you have worked with EBSCO, peer-reviewed journals? Okay, we'll catch that up then. All right, so you know what's going on with that. So here's the book, right? Griffin. Did you get the CD with it? CD come with it? All right, CD came with it. All right, so you're in good shape with that. We may or may not watch them together. Watch them on your own if we don't watch them together. So, all right, so I've been talking a lot. Anyone else questions so far?
How do you pronounce your name?
Bakelar.
Bakelar.
Yeah, unless you're from Europe, where it's Bacalar. Right? Yeah, so, yeah. All right, other questions? All right, let's plow on, and then we'll take a break after we get through the syllabus for a few minutes. So assignments and grading. So here's the point system. So one of the things we're going to do is a reality consulting project. All right, so this is probably the biggest thing that you're going to need to be thinking about early here. Our interest, in the end of the day, is that you are equipped to make a practical difference in some setting where there's communication. So what we're going to be asking you to do is to find some professional setting. Find somebody who works in a profession, you know, or a business. You know, it could be where you work. It could be a parent or a relative who owns a company or works in a company or something like that. But I want you to make a connection with them around what we're doing in this class. And so the basic way it'll work is you go to them and say, hey, I'm in this class. I need, there's a team of us, so that you'll be in teams of 3 or 4 people. There's a team of us who need to do a project where we create a little presentation for your business, for your company, for your workers about communication. So we need to talk with you about if you let us do that, but what are the things that go wrong in communication here? And we'll look at suggested things. You know, but what goes wrong in communication, or what would be valuable for us to bring into your workplace? You know, could we talk to managers about how to be more effective managers in communication? Can we look at your newsletter and do a makeover of your newsletter, or suggest why your website is not effective, or all kinds of different things. But you'll end up creating a 15-20-minute presentation that you'll give to some group of professional people. They'll feedback on it. You'll give it here and we'll read the feedback. So that's probably the biggest project that you're going to be working on here. And I'll explain a lot more about that as we go on. But that's commonly known as service learning. Is that a familiar term to you? Yeah, service learning, where you're out bringing something of benefit to the community as well as learning at the same time. So that'll be a service learning project that we'll do. So that'll count for a lot of your grade. You're going to do a weekly journal entry where you reflect on a communication event that happens in your life. You're observing communication, and then you're relating it to the book and to what we're talking about. So it's a kind of a reflection analysis of something that happened to you in communication that relates to what we're doing. There are examples of this on Griffin's website. I don't know how many of you have been to his website yet. It's it's www.afirstlook.com. And you go there. He's got examples, he's got outlines of the chapters, he's got links to other things you can read. You know, he's been at this a long time too. And this is a standard text. This is a standard undergraduate text all across the country for this. So he's got a pretty effective website there. So you want to go to that. And he's got what he calls them application logs. So you want to look at them and you'll get a feel for what we're talking about. What we're looking for as you do that. So every week you'll send me that. Send me that by Friday, by the weekend. Okay? So I want it by the weekend so I can read it over the weekend, comment on them, and come ready on Tuesday.
It's going to be on like a 3-point scale.
Yeah, like last time. I'll make some comment. Yeah, probably be on a 3-point scale. Yeah, 3 is like super job, great job. 2 is okay, you did it. 1 is like you better work harder on this. But that's just for you to know what's going on.
So we're emailing you the journal?
Yeah, email me this journal entry to the Comcast or whatever account you want, but email it to me, and then I can work with it. Question?
Did you want a hard copy submitted also?
No, I don't want a hard copy.
Okay.
Email is fine. Email is the best way. Student articles and reports. So you're going to read these 2 articles, and you're going to talk about them in class. Not a long talk in class. You know, just a handout, 1-page max handout. You're going to talk about them in class so everyone knows what you're reading about. And so that'll count. You'll do that twice. So that'll count for part of your grade. And then your individual student paper on whatever you're digging down into. Now your individual student paper can be a hypertext Wikipedia entry.
What is that?
Kind of a thing. Who knows what Wikipedia is? Whoa, all right, not too many people. All right, so you need to meet Wikipedia. Go online, type in Google Wikipedia, and discover Wikipedia. So it's a very useful place to start learning about things or researching things. So for instance, we're going to be talking about semiotics. So if you were to Google Wikipedia semiotics, you would come up with a really nice entry with a lot of good links to places to read about it. So, but if some of you may be web-enabled HTML design people, if you are, you can create your paper as hypertext. And we'll post it and we'll look at it together. I'm going to be doing a lot of projection and stuff. I just didn't want to do it today. So, okay. So, those of you who want to do that. You know, when my daughter was at USC, they were in a process of transitioning that all senior projects were done as hypertext CDs. That there's no more paper reports. Everything was hypertext CD presentations with links and menus and everything. So, so you might want to start get familiar with it if you're interested. I'm sure we can find some people who can help you with that. So those are the things. We'll do a final exam. All of my final exams are always known ahead of time, so there's no surprises on them. You always know the questions. It's kind of like a modified take-home final. You get to take it home, but you have to write it in class. It's always a short essay, little short essays. I see nods from my students who've been with me before. Yeah. So that's a good way to do it, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
There's no surprises. Right. So you had to say that, but it's good. No, it is a good way. Why surprise people? You go crazy. So, and then classroom participation counts too. This is my opportunity to say, you know, were you IMing other people in the class, you know, the whole time, or were you here? And were you participating? And did you show that you read the stuff? So that's my 10 points. Which ends up making a big difference at the end of the day, right? So, so are you going to get an A, a B, or a C? Well, I tell you, you know, if you really do some good work and you apply yourself, you're probably going to end up with an A. If you just kind of do marginal work, you're probably going to get a B. And if you don't turn in stuff, and you're getting all these ones back that say you've got to get this up to speed, and you don't do anything, then you're going to be down in the CDs range. You know, bulk of my students end up in here somewhere. You know, some get up here, and a couple get down here. So that's my distribution in general. But your choice, you know. I mean, it'll be very fair to you. All right, so that's the assignments and the grading. Let me stop. Any thoughts, questions, fears, anxieties?
For the end of the week, you're saying to turn in by Friday, those are the journal entries?
Yeah. It's really one journal entry.
On a grade scale of 3?
What's that?
On a grade scale of 3?
Well, it's one journal entry for the week. So it's not like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of a thing. It's pick one event that happens during the week and do an analysis of it.